Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Mr. Wizard's Workshop. So it's episode 14. The focus this week is life coaching a scam. This is part one because I have a lot of content to cover, and I don't want to cut short the time I allocate for the follow-up questions and discussions, and I don't want to have too long a video. So lends itself very well to having two parts. So I have the live attendees on mute. You can drop questions or comments into the Q&A section of the Zoom meeting as we go along, and then when I get to the end, I will check them out and I'll open up the floor for discussion. So I also am on mute. This part of the presentation is a recording I made yesterday. So I'm lurking in the background watching this video with the rest of you guys. I'm experimenting with the best way to effectively present the content and also include a rousing live discussion once I've gone through the content. Recording live and doing a really good job of presenting is harder than you might think. So I'm not smart enough to memorize my script and then present into the camera and do a really good job. In the past, I've experimented with using a teleprompter. While I can read pretty naturally from the teleprompter, you can see my eyes moving back and forth. It's distracting. It looks like I'm about to have a seizure. I also am not that thrilled with using PowerPoint. It's so 20th century. And when I'm sharing the screen, I'm just a little tiny talking head up in the upper right-hand corner. So I'm thinking that this approach is the best of both worlds, but you never know till you try. You guys can let me know what you think. Life coach is a pretty broad term, but it's kind of the generally accepted label or description for an industry that basically didn't exist 30 years ago. So one of the better descriptions of the role that I found is a life coach will help you get from where you are now to where you want to be. I'm going to give you some very interesting statistics about the industry shortly. So I don't use the term life coach for my coaching services. I think that's kind of a branding mistake that the industry made, but now they're sort of stuck with. So the term implies to me that a life coach is an enlightened guru who has mastered all aspects of life and can tell you what to do because they're so much better than you. I think that completely misses the point of what a successful coach is. But spoiler alert, I am a business coach, and business coach is, I'd say, a niche within the general rubric of life coach. I do have skin in the game. I have a perspective. So that is, I firmly believe, in fact, I know that the industry as a whole is not a scam. And for some people, having the right coach would be tremendously beneficial for them. However, I don't have my rose-colored glasses on. These are my blue blockers. So there are some spammy, sleazy, scammy folks in the industry, just like there are in most industries. And there are some well-intentioned people with good hearts who totally suck at being a coach. Like any career, there are going to be some people that are really good, some people that are average to mediocre, and some that totally suck. So my goal for this episode is to provide you a balanced perspective with information. I'll be giving you some of my thoughts about some of the research that I did and try to give you enough information so you can make your own informed decision. And equally important, I'm going to describe characteristics of a person who would benefit from having a coach. Next week, I'm going to describe in detail the characteristics of a good coach, what makes a coach an effective coach. And next week, I'm going to do a little bit of ranting about some of the things in the life coaching industry that I've observed that really chap my ass. So your action item for this week is very simple. It is decide if there are any cases now or in the future where having a coach, the right coach, would be beneficial for you. So this week's topic came out of a free coaching call I had with a potential client. It was a good call because I helped him really focus in on the challenge he was facing, and I landed on the understanding that he and I would not be a good fit. But the key point is towards the end of the conversation, he said, "Thanks, this has been really helpful. My wife thinks that coaching is a scam, and she laughed at me for booking this call." So that got me thinking that I've been living in a coaching bubble for the last couple of years. All of my coaching clients are successful entrepreneurs who are very clear on the tangible and intangible benefits of having the right coach. And I hang out virtually a number of people who are either coaches or they're entrepreneurs who have coaches. And over the last couple of years, I've participated in 4 different programs to help grow and hone some of the skills that I need to become a truly successful coach. Some of the things that I wasn't able to just bring with me or I didn't already have on board from my 44-year career consulting in IT. And many or most of the people in those programs were current or aspiring coaches. So I did even more research than I usually do for an episode, including watching 5 or 6 hours of different YouTube videos and going out and looking at various chat boards to kind of revisit my whole worldview on the industry and life coaching. I also did some research and gathered up, as I said, some really interesting statistics because I wanted to effectively present to you the con side of the argument, the idea, okay, yeah, possibly it is a scam, or let's at least look at the evidence and what's out there. So that included, is there a fairly widespread belief that life coaching is a scam? What's going on with the industry as a whole? What are the statistics out there? So life coaching is the second fastest growing industry in the world. Average growth rate, I think 5.6%. There are an estimated 4,380 coaches globally. There are an estimated 1,790,000 coaches in the U.S. There are 23,000 certified coaches globally, and that's just the ICF, International Coaching Federation cert. I'm going to have more to say about the certification process and really means my thoughts on it in next week's episode. So the demand for life coaching is still trending up, and estimated growth rate for the foreseeable future is 5.4% a year. And the market value of the U.S. coaching industry is projected to reach $1.4 billion approximately at the end of this year. So I searched in YouTube, is life coaching a scam? And found a number of videos that touched on this subject, dived down into their perspective on it in a lot of detail. I'm going to kind of give you the summary of 5 of the videos specifically. So one of them was titled, "Is Life Coaching a Scam?" This was produced by a mental health counselor. And while he tried to appear as if he was taking a balanced approach, he was pretty much kicking dirt in the face of the industry. Yeah, he made some valid points. It is an unregulated profession, which is true. So there are no real barriers to entry, no formal standard certification bodies, no licensing. So anyone can dub themselves a coach and hang out their shingle. He also came back repeatedly to the point that life coaching is not counseling. Life coaches are not qualified to diagnose or treat mental health issues and disorders, which is true. So I agree with both points, but they don't really make a case against the coaching profession. So the second video I looked at, which is actually pretty funny, screw Tony Robbins and screw life coach. So his basic premise or thought was that the whole industry and the whole personal development growth space is based on 2 incorrect assumptions. The first is that you can regularly and constantly improve. The second premise that he thinks is false is realizing your full potential is an unrealistic and even unhealthy goal. So his basic thought seems to be, don't worry, be happy, just be yourself. living in, focusing in the present moment is a good thing. I try to practice that myself. But that doesn't preclude you putting your present moment attention on growing, improving, evolving. So I reject his idea that those two premises are actually false. So a third YouTube video I watched is why there are a lot of hacks in the life coaching business. It was interesting, and I think they made some good points. I think they also, the two presenters, I think they know more about the industry than they actually do. But one of the points they made, based on, I guess, their personal experience of someone that they both know, is that there are people out there, and they generalize from the one case to pretty general case, lots or most people that are coaching aren't really successful in the domain that they're coaching. For example, someone who is coaching people on weight loss who hasn't actually lost weight themselves, or someone who is focusing and coaching in the business domain who's never actually had a successful business. So I think there are cases out there, and that's going to be one of the things I cover in my little mini rant next week. But I think they made a terrible mistake to overgeneralize based on pretty much the one case, their mutual friend. The second point they made, which is also interesting and I don't completely disagree with, is it seems like the business model for, again, they generalize to most coaching businesses, is coaches coaching coaches on how to coach coach. It's kind of like a pyramid scheme, or infinitely recursive. So yeah, there are a couple of, I'd say, big coaching empires that pretty much is their business. But there are lots of other coaches out there that is absolutely not their business model. So going back to their theme about there's some people that are coaching that don't really have any true skills, accomplishments, or specialized or even general knowledge in the area that they're coaching in. Because I have been hanging out with coaches and participating in training programs that are often focused primarily towards coaches, I do believe I have observed that there are aspiring coaches out there, especially, have a niche. They're offering a service, something that is so, say, obscure, nebulous, or completely woo-woo. I don't see how their clients could even know if they've reached the end game, if they've reached the goal. If the coaches help them get to that point that the service is purporting to help them, because the point they're going to get to is so nebulous, like harness the power of the universe. The third point that this particular video covered, which I pretty much agree with, although again I think they're overgeneralizing, but they were looking at the details of a recent program offering from a couple of big names in the industry, and they observed that there didn't seem to be an application or any qualifying process that they could see. In fact, if you showed up with the money, with the charge card, you were in. It's kind of like the Willie Nelson song. You have the money, honey, I got the time. So I agree with this. Not everyone is qualified or in a position where they can benefit an expensive, complex program. If they're not financially able to really take it on, it's a mistake, I believe, to let them in. So I saw this firsthand in one of the 4 programs that I mentioned earlier. So it had some really good content, some excellent coaching, a group coaching framework, along with training videos, live workshops, and practice workshops. But I observed that while there were some really top-notch folks, including some folks who are already successful and want to be more successful, and I think some really bright folks that were just getting started but had the basis of a good career in coaching, there were also some people that were as lost as a goose in a snowstorm. They just floundered and flopped from week to week. I felt sorry for them, although I really hated to get on like a breakout call or a working session with one, or God forbid, more of those people in one group. So I'll talk some more about this a little further on, but I think you definitely, as a coach, I think you have an obligation to qualify people and make sure that and be convinced in your own mind and heart that you are indeed going to be able to help them. The investment they make in time and money, there's going to be a return. So a third video that I watched was The Truth About Coaching. It's a video from a CNN production, which it was really excellent. It's about, I think from memory, 30 minutes, but I'll post a link to that in the content because I think it gives the broadest, most balanced perspective, including interviewing people that are coaches, interviewing people from ICF, interviewing people who think it is a scam, interviewing people who are kind of in between on it. I covered the waterfront. So I'll give you the summary of the video in case you're not interested in going and watching it. So one is definitely a booming, growing industry. Therapy and life coaching are two distinctly different things. It is not a scam, but you need to pick the right coach, whatever it is you want to achieve or avoid. And just because the industry as a whole is not a scam, it doesn't mean every coach out there is effective or worth your time and investment. I think those points are all true. I also looked at several long threads on Quora on the subject. Basically, there are 2 or 3 different threads that all pretty much say, is life coaching a scam? So the consensus on those threads was overwhelmingly, hell yes, it is. Life coaching is truly one of the wackiest developments of my generation. I'm shocked that so many people fall for the BS. It's beyond cringy. Totally a scam. 3 or 4 pretty much just said that. Totally a scam. Yep. There's one that says, yes, I was skeptical. I took a training certification. I'm now clear in my mind that it is a scam, and coaches in their heart of hearts know it. So most of all the comments I saw were half-baked or half-truths. You know, I could make salient arguments against most of what they're saying, but you know, I'm not going to get in flame wars with people. But there is a broad segment of the population out there who definitely think it's a scam. Decision, they've cut themselves off from the potential benefit. So the last thing I want to cover in this episode is under what circumstances, what characteristics does a potential candidate for some domain of coaching have? I think first they have to have a big goal or a vision, something important that they want to accomplish, or something that's really negatively impacting them that they want to avoid or eliminate. If someone's focus in life is watching As the World Turns and The Wheel of Fortune and playing bingo on Saturday, you know, why the bleep would they need a coach? 2, they're either completely stuck on the thing they want to accomplish or removing the thing they want to avoid, or they're really struggling and not making the progress that they think or know that they should be. You know, if you're getting it done, everything's clicking along, why would you need a coach? They're highly motivated. So when I'm having a conversation with a potential client, after I've gotten a really good understanding of what it is they're trying to achieve, what it is they're trying to avoid, what it is they've done so far, where they're at, then I just ask them on a scale of 1 to 10, how motivated are you to arrive at that future state that we've just spent, 15 or 20 minutes talking. If they say less than 8, if it's a number that's less than 8, I'm not even remotely interested in having them as a client. Number 4, they're coachable. So being coachable means being open, discussion, recommendations, being open to being challenged, having your assumptions examined, and being interested in growth. So if you're coachable, then you don't resent being questioned, and you have pretty much landed on, hey, I need another perspective, and I'm open to hearing and potentially acting on what that other perspective provides. So it happens very infrequently, but I have had occasions on a free coaching session where my asshat radar started flashing red. It made me wonder why they even got on the call. Probably because there was some particular detailed subject they wanted to pick my brain on. But they were coming across to me and pretty much providing the message that I am a master of the universe. So I don't even present to those people what my coaching package entails or ask for the business because I don't want their business. Because there's some customers that you just don't want. Better to not bring someone on than have to fire them down the road. So the next thing, they have to be able to afford it. So I've watched the end of several, coaching or program webinars where, it was a call to action. It was a lead magnet. There's really good content. For some people, it would be a great offer. And if you've ever participated in any of those, towards the end, they start throwing out the calls to action and the bonus offers and interacting with people in chat and even on the video to gather up as many people as they can to sign up for the program, which is all well and good. But I have seen on occasion people who are agonizing about the financial cost, about the impact. I'm talking about people who are saying, well, I don't have a job right now, or I'm on Social Security and I'll have to go deeply into debt. What should I do? So it makes me cringe if the promoters say, well, do it because it'll all work out in the end. And they probably have had people who did that, who rolled the dice, and it did work. But I bet they've also had people who did that and it didn't work out. The people who went significantly into debt with no clear path to paying it back probably deeply regret it. So that is a no-go for my business. If I'm having a conversation with a potential client, they raise the objection, well, I can't, it costs too much, or I can't really afford it. That might be smokescreen, or it might be a cover for the real objection. So I'll always spend a little bit of time exploring it. Basically, I'd usually just say, well, assuming that cost wasn't an issue at all, is there anything else that would be blocking you from participating? If I land on a clear understanding that truly they can afford it and there's not necessarily in my mind a hard dollar ROI for them, return on investment, then I don't try to sign them up. I don't want to. That's why my niche, my focus is successful entrepreneurs, people that are currently generating good revenue from their business and want to take it to the next level. I am confident that I will be able to give those folks a hard dollar, significant return on investment. So to recap, not everyone would benefit from investing their time and energy and money into hiring a coach. And it's important, if you do qualify, that you pick the right coach. Okay. I'm going to stop this video and come back live and open the floor for discussion. Welcome, and I think you're a very good participant for this discussion because I believe that you do have one or more coaches. But let me ask a general question first. Do you have any questions, general comments about the content that I just covered? Or any observations?
Not really sure about questions because you really covered everything in great detail. You've pretty much listed all the important questions and answered them in this workshop. Comments, I guess, someone who believes coaching is a scam is someone who believes coaching doesn't work or doesn't work for them, which means they're a bad client. They shouldn't be a client, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's fair enough. There are many popular products in this world where people strongly believe that's not for them. Just take the whole Mac versus Windows discussion.
Yeah.
You talk to a Mac user and they are very convinced Windows is not for them. You talk to a Windows fan and they're very convinced Mac is not for them, right? Doesn't mean, and some of them will even argue that, Apple is a scam and not a scam, but, unethical or whatever. Same with Windows. So, maybe because the coaching industry is now becoming mainstream or is already mainstream, when something grows in popularity, it automatically attracts more resistance.
So you do have a coach, right? Currently?
Yes, I have two coaches.
Two coaches. Okay. So what qualities
right now?
So obviously you're convinced that, the right coach is worth the investment of your time and energy. what qualities were you looking for in the coaches that
First of all, I think that the term coach is just a label. And, when people start arguing about labels, that is never a productive time spent.
right?
Right? Like I understand the entire discussion around life coaching and coaching in general, but all people are doing there is arguing about the label of coaching.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, in coaching is part of the information industry, and we're essentially paying for information in the broadest sense, or we're paying for support. But ultimately, every single time we're just paying for a result. It's the same with courses. If we buy a course, we don't actually buy the videos and the PDFs or an ebook. I mean, when we go back a decade, you know, thinking back about all the hate that ebooks received, anyone who bought an ebook, people would say, "You're so stupid that you pay $50 for a PDF.
Yeah.
That's worthless." Like, you know, and nowadays we have Kindle and everyone buys ebooks from Amazon, right? Nobody says you're dumb because you're buying a digital book or a PDF or something. We're buying results, we're paying for results, and that's really what I'm looking for in a coach or in anyone right now for my business is
Mhm.
if I am convinced that they're getting me a result and I can afford it and the result is worth more than what it costs me, then
Yeah.
why wouldn't I go ahead with that?
So do you feel like for the, and we'll use the label, two coaches you have right now that you are getting the results that you invested in and your both your time and your money?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been looking for a mentor for a couple of years
Hmm.
already, but I was always in the mindset of first I need to make really big money before I'm gonna get a mentor, and that's just usually not how it works. You
Right.
you make the investments up front, and ever since I made the investment to work with coaches and be open to get help
Hmm.
and have people actively support me. Ever since I started doing that, I've multiplied my results in every single area of my business. So,
And by the way, Morris has he has a podcast. He's got a YouTube channel where he does some really useful videos on content development, and he's running a mastermind group. And he's got also a Facebook page. It's Create, Grow, Profit, right, Morris?
yeah, I'm doing everything under the business name Create, Grow, Profit now. Thanks for mentioning.
Watched quite a few of your videos, and I found them to be very helpful. He's Morris does a really good job recording and editing. I'm getting better, so I aspire to move to the level that Morris is at. Okay, so we'll wrap up this week's episode, and unless Morris, you had anything else you wanted to add or anything else to talk about based on this week's content?
No, I think it's great that you're addressing this topic, and I think you're gonna, help a lot of new coaches figure out if they want to continue in that industry or not, if they're ready to deal with that criticism, which is gonna stay around for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely an important topic. And I mean, one final thing I will say is that if you're a dedicated coach, like I said, most of the time you're selling results, and every time you're selling results, you can always offer a money back guarantee, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, I think, I mean, just think about all the therapists and doctors and so on who don't
Yeah.
offer any money back guarantee, and how many times do we go to a therapy or treatment and didn't work for us? There's no money back for that. So if you're a coach and you're off like a weight loss coach and you feel like you can help people lose weight,
Yeah.
even if you right now are not, the most fit person, like sure, there's gonna be skeptical people who point that out, but let's just, take it for granted that you are ethical and that you can help people. If they don't lose the number of pounds that you promised them in that time frame,
Right.
all their money back straight away. And, if you can't get people the results and you constantly have to pay back, then I think you will know very quickly that
Right.
either you need to get certified or go to school or, but essentially, if you can't deliver the results, then the problem is very clear very quickly. And I think that's really what it boils down to. Are you ready to put yourself on the line, promise those results? And if you can't do that, then don't be a coach or a consultant. It's that easy, I would say.
All right, Morris. Oh, thanks so much for joining. Hopefully, you can join next week where I'm going to get to part two. Have a great rest of your week or weekend.
Thanks, Stephen. You too. See you next week.
Yep.